Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Digital Sleepover. So glad you could make it.
It's great to have you all here.
Yeah, make sure you got like your comfiest blanket and like your favorite drink. We're going to go on another deep dive.
That's right. And if this is your first sleepover with us, welcome. You're going to want to check out the other deep dives we've done. We've got episodes on everything from like online privacy settings to the crazy history of emojis.
Yeah, right. So much good stuff. But tonight we're tackling something that's like impossible to ignore in our digital lives. We're talking about influencer culture and how it like messes with what feels real online.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It really is. We want to explore how these online personas that are like so carefully created, how they shape our connections and our choices, like everything from buying that new gadget to like maybe even how we see ourselves. And we're going to share our own stories too, get a little real about how we deal with all this curated perfection online. But most importantly, want to give you some practical tips to help you stay grounded and like genuinely you in your digital life.
It's all about navigating this whole influencer world and still staying true to yourself.
Okay, so first things first, what exactly is influencer culture? We hear this term all the time, but what's really going on beneath the surface?
Right.
We've been digging into articles from like The Atlantic, Wired, TechCrunch. They're all breaking down these trends. Plus, we looked at research on the psychology of social media. And it seems like it boils down to this. You have individuals online who, through their content, which is like super carefully crafted, they have a lot of power. They influence trends, lifestyles, even our ideas about success.
Yeah, that's a good way to sum it up.
Yeah.
And what's super interesting to me is just how intentional all of this is. What we often see is this really polished, idealized version of someone's life. Those perfectly filtered pictures, those spontaneous trips that are actually totally planned out, and like all these achievements that just seem to happen effortlessly.
Oh, yeah,
I
totally.
mean, there's definitely an aspirational side to it. But when that's all you see, it starts to create these impossible standards, benchmarks that no one can actually reach.
Right. Like you see another perfectly organized home tour, and suddenly your own space, which is lived in and real, starts to feel kind of, I don't know, not good enough.
Yeah, totally.
And it's not just us feeling this way. Research shows how constantly being exposed to these seemingly perfect lives can really mess with how we see ourselves.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like that whole comparing yourself to others thing, but amplified by like a million.
It's like social comparison on steroids. Because you're basically comparing your normal everyday life to somebody else's highlight reel.
Exactly.
And highlight reels are never the full story.
Never.
So, for example, studies in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships have looked at these upward social comparisons. And it's basically the idea that when you're always comparing yourself to people you see as better or more successful,
It doesn't feel good.
it can lead to feeling inadequate, feeling more anxious, even feeling isolated, because you're comparing your reality to someone else's carefully curated online persona.
Which brings us to the big question we're trying to answer today. If we're always seeing these filtered versions of reality online, what happens to our ability to just be ourselves, flaws and all, to connect with people in a genuine way?
Right. How do we keep it real?
Exactly.
And I think that's where authenticity and vulnerability come in. These are like the key ingredients to any meaningful relationship. When we let ourselves be seen, imperfections and all, it gives other people permission to do the same. It builds trust and creates a sense of belonging.
Yes.
But when the main message online is be perfect, it can feel scary to let your guard down, to show those less than perfect parts of yourself.
I know what you mean. Like, are my messy kitchen moments going to get a ton of likes on Instagram? Probably not. And then the pressure starts to creep in. We start filtering our own lives. We only share the good stuff, and suddenly we're part of the problem. We're creating this unrealistic expectation for everyone else.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to be really mindful about how we use social media. I mean, most of us can't just completely log off, but we can be more intentional. We can create habits that help us stay grounded and authentic.
Okay, so let's talk about what we can actually do. What are some practical tips to stay true to ourselves in this online world?
Yeah, let's get practical.
One thing that's helped me a lot is being really picky about who I follow, like actually looking at my feed and asking, do these accounts make me feel good? Or am I constantly comparing myself and feeling bad?
Right.
And if it's a second one, maybe it's time to diversify your feed, follow accounts that are more real, that show the behind the scenes, the struggles alongside the successes, the real mixed with the highlights.
That is such a good first step. You're basically curating your online experience to be something that supports you, something that doesn't make you feel worse.
Exactly. Okay, what else can we do?
Well, another super powerful strategy is to engage deeply. Instead of just scrolling and scrolling, really try to have meaningful interactions. Leave thoughtful comments, more than just an emoji. Have real conversations. Connect with people who share your values and your interests.
I love that. It's about shifting from just broadcasting to actually having a two-way conversation.
Exactly.
Okay, this next one might seem obvious, but it's so easy to forget. Set boundaries. Know when you're feeling overwhelmed or when a certain platform is just making you feel bad about yourself.
Uh-huh.
Give yourself permission to take breaks. Put the phone down. Go do something offline. There are even apps that can help you with this, like digital wellness
Oh,
apps.
yeah, those can be really helpful.
And maybe the most important thing we can all do is share our truth. Now, I don't mean like oversharing every single detail of your life, but just being willing to be yourself online. Share your experiences, the good and the bad, the funny moments, the messy moments. You might be surprised how much it connects with other people, how it helps build stronger connections because it's based on realness and shared experiences.
Yeah, and those influencer authenticity challenges that pop up sometimes?
Mm-hmm.
Those are a good reminder that so many people are craving that realness.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about the what and the how. Now let's get a little more personal. I know I've definitely felt that pressure to present a perfect image online.
Oh,
Like, I
yeah.
remember this one time I was trying to take this artsy photo for Instagram. It was supposed to be like a flat lay, but it took me so many tries to get it right. And by the end, it felt so fake and staged. It just wasn't fun anymore.
I feel that.
It made me realize how much energy I was wasting on trying to be perfect. What about you? Any stories come to mind?
Oh, yeah, totally. Especially when social media was first becoming a big thing, there was this pressure to create this perfect persona. Like you always had to be happy and doing something exciting.
Great.
I remember spending so much time writing the perfect captions and choosing the perfect filter. It felt like I was creating a character instead of just sharing a moment. And it was exhausting.
So
It
exhausting.
wasn't until I started seeing people share their vulnerabilities, their real lives, that I realized it was okay to just be myself online.
It's so freeing, isn't it? And it makes me think about what people like Brene Brown talk about, the power of vulnerability. It's not weakness, it's where courage and connection come from. And it's interesting how the research backs this up. Studies on social media and self esteem often show that being authentic and expressing yourself genuinely can actually protect you from the negative effects of comparing yourself to others.
Yeah. And it's so cool to see these online communities popping up that are all about genuine connection, not just likes and followers.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about those.
Like, think about those support groups on Reddit. People share really personal stuff there, and the focus is on support and empathy, not on looking perfect.
Makes sense.
It shows that people really do want authenticity online. And we're also seeing these storytelling projects where the whole point is to share real, unfiltered stories. They celebrate the beauty of everyday life.
That's amazing. It's like these little pockets of resistance against all the curated perfection.
Exactly.
So if you're listening and you want to learn more about all this, there are some awesome resources out there. There's this book called Influencer by Brittany Hennessy. It gives you a behind-the-scenes look at the influencer industry. And if you want to know more about having a healthier relationship with technology, Cal Newport's book, Digital Minimalism, has some really great ideas.
Yeah, those are both good ones. And there are so many great TED Talks about authenticity and vulnerability.
Oh, for sure.
Plus, you can find really interesting articles on sites like Harvard Business Review. They analyze influencer culture from a business perspective and a social perspective. Oh, and don't forget about those digital wellness blogs. They have tons of practical advice on how to use social media in a healthier way.
So many good resources. All right, everyone, before we wrap up this deep dive, we have a little question for you. Have you ever felt that pressure to present a perfect image online?
Yeah, we want to hear your stories.
Share your experiences in the comments or on social media using the hashtag digital sleepover reel. Let's create a space where we can be real with each other and remember that nobody's perfect.
Exactly. We're all figuring this digital world out together.
Uh.
And sharing our experiences can help us feel less alone.
So thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into influencer culture and the search for authenticity online. We hope it's given you some things to think about and maybe even some ideas for how to be more yourself online.
Remember, the most important connection you can build online is with your true, authentic self.
Perfectly said. And if you like this conversation, make sure you subscribe and check out our other deep dives. We love having you as part of our community. Until next time, stay real and take care.
See ya, bye.